What's up, sneaky people? It's your boy FB Kicks and Gear, and welcome back to my channel for another legit checking guide. And this time, we got another appearance of the Travis Scott Jordan 1 High Fragment collab. This is a release that is, honestly, it's kind of lukewarm for a lot of people. The people that love it, really love it. The people that don't love it, really don't like it. And honestly, I can understand why it's polarizing. The low release was a lot more well received than the high, and I think for some pretty obvious reasons because of the color blocking. The Jordan 1 low is really making waves right now in the sneakerhead community, and people love that shoe, and I love that shoe as well. But for sure, I am a fan of the Travis Scott 1 low fragments and other Jordan 1 lows, but I'm still a big fan of these, and that's why I continue to pump out these legit check guides, getting you guys experience with different batches, because that's important, especially if you're looking for an authentic pair. But before I get into this video, I want to let you guys know that we are on Discord now, and thanks to a subscriber of mine that has probably been following me through the different channels, and shout out to him for even finding me on this new one even after my old one got deleted. But thanks to him, we are on Discord, and we are trying to build a community. We are trying to spread legit checking knowledge, more information, talk about retail releases, and all that good stuff. This community is gonna be what we make it, and that starts with us participating and joining. So the Discord will be in the description of this video, and will continue to be in the description of my videos, so that we can connect and we can do good things. Because honestly, I can't go over absolutely everything in these videos, and that's not the purpose of that. For the most part, I want to inform people enough so that they can take the information that I give them and they can roll it into their own efforts. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're about. Find me on Discord, and let's get the conversation started. But with all that said, let's get into the shoes. And just like with every other video, remember, you can go to the Instagram account on the screen and see many detailed pictures, images, and all that good stuff of the shoe. Remember, I can't go over everything, but that should not stop you guys from being able to do your own research and further enlightening yourself. So go to that Instagram account and let's get into this motherfucking video. And we'll start with the box. So I'm not going too crazy about the box. It is your standard Jordan 1 box in blue with the Cactus Jack Fragment design, Air Jordan sleeve, condom, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's this thing that they do. You've seen it on Ama Maniers, you've seen it on other Travis Scott Jordan 1s, but it's on this as well. I'm not going to go too much into depth about the box because I don't have an authentic box to compare it to, and it's pretty useless if you don't have those colors and things to match up. But here is a close-up of the box label. Remember, my biggest tip when it comes to evaluating box labels is to look at the smallest text on there that you can find, because it is so much easier if you're comparing it to any other Jordan 1 box to look at the smallest text like the made in China or the color code. And it's a lot easier to pick up on differentiation and inconsistencies in the text when you're looking at the thinnest possible text. It's a lot easier to see and compare that to other authentic shoes. So do that, look at this. Also, remember, look for the RFID tag. If you see that little symbol there, that means that there should be an RFID tag on this. And is there on this one? It's kind of hard to see, but there is an RFID tag. So remember, not all reps will have the RFID tag, but if it says there's an RFID tag and you can't find it, there's a very good chance you're looking at a rep. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the shoes. And boom, here we have it. We have the Travis Scott Jordan 1 High Fragment collab. And even though most people don't agree, or the large bulk of people don't agree, I think these are dope. I think this is a dope shoe. I got a really good appreciation for any Travis Scott 1 High when the original one came out. I got an authentic pair. I was blown away by the materials, the quality, and just the overall aesthetic. We were just getting into that earth tone brown era when those came out, and I'm still very much so on that wave, hype or not. And that kind of extends to this, even though this is an earth tone shoe. But there are a couple of things that I look for on this shoe when I am authenticating and when I am legit checking specifically for the shoe. And since I don't have an authentic pair, it's hard to really get into the weeds about it, but there are some really high level tips that I like to look for that can really help you with this process. And the first two things all regard the upper. One, you should see pebbling, tumbling, whatever you want to call it, you should see it all around the shoe. And you can see that this rep actually got that right, which is surprising, but they got it right. It could be a little bit deeper, it could be a little bit more intense, but they definitely have that tumbling, almost scaly effect throughout the entire shoe. And you can see that pretty easily, in my opinion, on both shoes. So that's definitely something you want to see. And keep in mind that effect will get more intense and more visible as you wear them. That is the nature of the material. So you want to see that all the way around. And as I mentioned, this rep does have that. But the one thing that the rep does not have is the plushness that the leather is supposed to have when it comes to the authentic pair. If you are familiar with the Travis Scott Jordan 1 High Mocha, the original release, you know that the leather panels on that shoe are absolutely butter soft, and the authentic version of these took those side white leather panels and essentially created an entire shoe out of it. The authentic version of this shoe feels super premium compared to other Jordan 1 and definitely feels a lot more premium than the low version of this release. And this doesn't really recreate that. Don't get me wrong, it's thick leather. You can actually see the raw edges. It's definitely a more premium leather. It's in terms of $170 Jordan 1 lows or Jordan 1 sneakers, but it's not the same, and you can feel that in the upper. It's not as plush, it's a little bit more stiff, and you can feel that all the way around. You can even kind of see how rigid and stiff it is just by looking at how these panels kind of come together, the way the shoe stands up, how it doesn't really like fold in or anything like that. That's one thing that for sure is a very, very good tell. You should be able to use that as a indicator. If you are familiar with any typical soft Jordan 1, like let's say the Obsidians that came out couple years ago, or any of the color toe releases like the yellow toes or the bread toes or whatever, if they feel like this, or I should say if the pair in question that you have feels like any of them, it's probably fake, because it should feel more premium, and the rep just does not do that. It does a good job capturing the essence of the shoe, but it doesn't feel like the same shoe. And I'll save this for another video, but that kind of, lends to the fact that rep factories are recreating a shoe. They are not making the same shoe in the same factory. They are recreating a shoe. Sometimes they do that really, really well, and sometimes they don't do it exactly, but that's what leaves the space open for people to legit check and for people to make sure that they're getting what they're paying for. So, but that's a topic for another video that we will get into, but I just wanted to say that when it comes to that upper, that's definitely one of the things that I personally can feel and I can notice. It is just not that same supple, soft leather. The next thing that I like to look at when it comes to the upper is the 3M reflective text Cactus Jack in there. There's kind of two things that I like to look at. When it comes to this shoe, the tumbling and the pebbling on this leather is supposed to be so intense that it hides the Cactus Jack text pretty well, and you usually can't see it head on, and it should blend pretty well, and that's how it was with the original pair as well. And this does a decent job of hiding it, but I can still see it a little bit too prominently, and the reason why is because the tone of white that they use is a brighter, more vibrant white than the almost off-white that they use for here. It's not actually off-white, but it's a pretty close, it's not the same tone of white, and it stands out a little bit more. But head on, it is a little bit difficult to see, but I should have a lot harder of a time seeing it, even with all the studio lights and everything like that. I don't know how it's appearing on camera when you look at it, but it's definitely a little bit more prominent. Position wise though, the top of the C is touching this. Usually when you're looking at Travis Scott Jordan 1s in sizes 11 and down, you want to see that C in between the stitching, and you can see, hopefully you can see it on here, but I am confirming that it's there. So that's two things. You want to care about the positioning, and you want to really not be able to see it without really looking for it. It usually supposed to blend in, and I'm assuming as you wear and as these crease and things like that, this will start to blend in a little bit more, but definitely you don't want this to be super prominent and super bold. Not a good sign if you are looking for an authentic pair. The next thing, and probably one of the easier things to check if you have access to maybe not this shoe in particular, but to the lows, is the midsole. And I'm going to pull out my authentic pair of Fragment lows, and I'm going to do that comparison. And here we have my authentic pair of Fragment lows, and you guys can already kind of see the difference in color, but I'm going to put them side by side because it's a lot easier to do that comparison when we do it that way. So here we have it. We can definitely see the difference in color when it comes to the midsole of the Rep Fragment High and the authentic Fragment Low. And the two biggest differences that you can see are the color of the midsole and the weight, boldness, and font of the factory code on the side here. So let's first talk about color. You can see that the aged midsole on the low is more of a fleshy color. It's a pale off-white kind of vibe going to it, but when you look over at the Rep High, it's yellower, it's aged in a different way, but you can see side by side that they're definitely different colors, especially when you look at the midsole stitching. Probably the easiest way to tell, specifically when you're comparing them. Look how yellow that stitching is compared to the authentic pair. And it's super prominent when you look at it on the back. You can see that color difference, and some people might say, oh yeah, that doesn't matter, yada yada yada. Like I said, save the justifications. I'm not here to prove anything to anyone, and you shouldn't be trying to prove anything to me. I'm just pointing out that difference, and it's a good legit checking indicator. But from there we move on to the code on the side of the shoe, and I think it's pretty easy to see that they look pretty drastically different, and that's because on the authentic code right here for the low, you see it's bold, it's not crisp and clean, it's a little bit sloppy. That's what they look like, that's what they should look like. But when you flip over to the Rep pair, this looks prim and proper, it's crisp, it's clean, it's uniform. This looks like they spent more time on it placing this than the authentic pair, and that honestly ends up backfiring in terms of accuracy, because this is what they look like. You might see some slight weight differences, you might see differences in boldness from pair to pair, but this is so uniform, so crisp, and so clean. Authentic pairs don't look like this, unfortunately. So that's, or I should say fortunately, that's a good thing, right? The authentic pairs don't look like this, and they are a good legit checking indicator. So please pay attention to that. That is something that the midsole is usually my first thing that I go to. It's usually the easiest thing to go to in my opinion. So pay attention to that. Good legit check indicator. But other than that, we can take a quick look at the Nike Air tags on the tongue. You can see that on the Rep, that blue is super bright and super prominent. Definitely not as dull and faded on the authentic High, and these should be the same. And the Fragment design placement is different, it's off compared to the authentic pair. These elements are the same from the low to the high, so it's still a good, accurate, legit checking indicator. But that actually ends up being it, guys. This is a damn good rep. Still very, very, very legit checkable in my opinion. If you do your research and you know your stuff, you aren't going to be scammed by this. But if you're not paying attention and you're not watching my videos and you're not in my Discord channel, you are probably going to be scammed by this, and then you're going to be out $17, $18, $2,500 because you weren't paying attention. So with all that said, guys, that's it. I got more videos planned, more content. I got more Travis Scott videos planned very soon, actually. I get a lot of comments about specific Travis Scott Jordan 1s, and I've got what you guys are looking for. I promise you. Stay tuned. And remember, head over to the Instagram account on the screen so that you can check all of this good stuff and make sure that you stay informed and you know what the details look like. So with all that said, guys, I will see you in the next one. Peace.